Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to anchor properly with a snubber. So snubber is simply a piece of line that goes from your chain to your boat. And the idea is this is a lot more elastic than chain. So this allows some elasticity in your all-chain rode. Now, there's a couple options for connecting this to your chain. You can either use hooks or all sorts of gizmos and gadgets which have issues where they can fall off. Or you can tie a knot. Okay, so the knot we're going to be tying here is a Magnus hitch. So you simply come under the chain and you do a loop over it, and then you come under the chain again and you do another loop over it. And then the tail end comes under the part that you have cleated off and goes over the chain in the opposite direction and then back up through this loop. So you end up with this. You have the line comes in, does 2 turns, comes under, goes over in the opposite direction, and then comes back. So you have the tail and the standing part together. Now this is a directional knot, so this knot is really good pulling this way, not so good pulling this way. But on chain, it's really good holding because chain's kind of lumpy. All right, so once that's set, you're then going to let out your chain so that the snubber takes the load. So when it comes to what length should your snubber be, it's really simple. If it's a nice calm day like today, pretty short. You can have the snubber actually just reach the water and call it a day there. That way the snubber doesn't, grow some gunk from the water. If it's going to be a nasty storm, let a longer snubber out, because the longer it is, the more elasticity you're going to have. Now you want to use 3-lay nylon because that rope has about a 20% stretch at its breaking strength. So that one will give you a lot of elasticity versus the other ones, which they'll stretch a little and then they start snapping and shocking. For storm conditions, you want to have a really long snubber. So in our case, we can let the line out to 30 feet. So we could have a 30-foot snubber if we need it. But for easy anchoring like this, we do just a couple feet. Okay, it's the day after that horrible blow that we had where we were anchored and our snubber was loaded like crazy. And this is the exact reason you want to use a Magnus hitch to tie off your snubber instead of a rolling hitch, which you might have been wondering the whole time, like, why isn't he using the rolling hitch? That's the famous one for this job. This is why.
Wave! Wave! Oh, yes, okay. Hang on.
Okay, so this is the Magnus hitch after having been loaded through that really bad storm. So you can see how it's kind of deformed a little bit from when we tied it. But this is the part that's awesome. After all that loading, you just take the tongue and lift it up. And it just comes untied super easily. You will not be able to untie a rolling hitch after having loaded it that hard with that little effort. So that's how you do the snubber. You just tie a Magnus hitch to the chain, let it out. If it's nice weather like when we anchored, just a little bit of snubber. If it's horrible, like you saw, a really long snubber. And then when the weather calms down, you just crank it in, untie it, and off you go. Everything's happy.
Thanks for watching this episode of Sailing Wisdom. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next Rigging Doctor episode. And if you're interested in even more Rigging Doctor awesomeness, consider becoming a patron to see all of our extras. Can't wait to see you next time as you join us out here on the high seas.